Hey guys, welcome back to another video where today we're going to be looking at the new nerfs and buffs upcoming in War Robots. Also, please note these are subject to change. There's a very good chance they can change, but there's also a good chance that they're not. Anyway, this weekend's test server will feature updated balance values for a wide range of items. Let's start off with the ducks here. Reduce companion bot damage by 50%, so that's just half its damage gone. But its accuracy is increased, and its reduced bonus to move. The duck, the Dux's reduced bonus to movement speed from Mastermind goes from 40% to 20%. Also, just a note: the feature that increases the accuracy of Dux's companion bots might not work during this weekend's test. They're gonna review the initial results and implement the feature fully in later test sessions. So that it's going to take some time to nerf the ducks because it's extremely complicated. Alright, next we have the Condor. And its flight duration is actually being increased by 2 seconds. Which is, I mean, it already has a very long one, so it's kind of annoying. But wait till you see this. Increase MK3 bonus to damage against Titans from 1.5 times to 1.9, but it reduced the amount of both green and gray durability repaired by losing one shield while the ability is active from 60% to 25%. So that's a massive nerf right there. That just means it's not going to be able to heal as much durability from destroying its shields. And then reduce built-in weapon damage 40%, which is insane. But honestly, it was needed because that thing did way too much damage. Reduce base movement speed while ability is active from 50 to 35. Wow, that's a pretty solid nerf right there. And just 20% less durability. Alright. So the Condor is not going to be very good after this nerf, assuming these numbers don't get changed. But, alright, next up we have the Bagliore. It's getting a buff, actually. 15% increased durability, but the ability lifetime is going from 30 to 20 seconds. So, you don't have as long to teleport, but it's still fine. Next up, we have the Raptor. And the increased Comet Splash duration goes from 5 to 7 seconds. It gains 15% durability, but the reflector, the damage blocked from the reflector is going from 60 to 30%. It's only going to block 30% of damage, which is a massive nerf. I mean, like, that's bad. This thing's going to be bad already after this. Reduce the amount of damage returned by reflector from 30% to 15%. They're just cutting those in half. Oh my god, the Raptor's going to be terrible after this. Reduce jump, range, and height. Okay, that's just going to make it even less useful. The current description of Comet Splash on live servers. Raptor blocks 60% of incoming damage while using ability, and not 70%. Okay, so there was probably some typo or something on the live server, but oh well. The reflector also returns. Okay, yeah. So the live server was wrong, but it's not by much. Alright, now we have the Pathfinder getting a little bit of a nerf. Oh, well, it's not a little bit, it's a solid nerf. Reduce track cooldown from 12 to 10 seconds. That's actually a buff right there. But reduce durability by 25%. Oof, that's just a quarter of its health gone. I mean, to be fair, I don't even think it really needed that. The Pathfinder, I don't think that's how you would nerf a robot like the Pathfinder. It doesn't have a lot of health as it is. And it's getting just a little bit less movement speed as well. So, I mean, it's not by much. It's fine. Next, we have a buff for the Nemesis. Increase the duration of the absorber phase of retribution from 2 to 4 seconds, so doubles it. Nice. And the built-in weapon damage is 7% more. And they increase the limit of bonus damage that can be provided by the absorber by 7%. So that's just a little buff, pretty good, pretty solid buff for the absorber, but it's not going to be enough to matter. Next up, we got the Raven, and it has reduced double jump cooldown from 18 to 16 per charge, and increased durability by 10%. So that's a little bit of buff. It's not. I mean, the Raven's really good with the pilot, actually, to be fair. But yeah, 10% durability is nice though. The Spectre's getting a buff. It's getting a bit more speed and 2 seconds less on the cooldown. It's not that great to be honest, but it's not terrible. The Tier is getting a buff. Its shield durability is going up by 10%, and repair mode is increasing the amount of repair durability by 6%. So it's a little bit of a buff. The Raker has increased health by 13%, and the reduced glance cooldown from 10 to 9 seconds per charge. So that's just 10% more ability, pretty much, in short words. The Pursuer is just getting a bit more bonus speed from its ability by 4%. It's not much, not enough to matter, I don't think. The Heihachi and soul capacity, the blue shield, is being increased by 12%, and it's also getting increased durability by 7%, so that's nice. The Strider is getting a 10% ability buff from going 10 to 9 seconds per charge on the dash. That's kind of nice. The Bulgazari is getting increased physical shield durability and increased durability. Nice. I mean, that thing's kind of a tank already. Alright, and moving on. Last one here, the Nether. The Nether needs a buff, but this is not the buff it needs. Increased damage bonus from Quake from 10 to 20%. Alright, that's not bad actually. Increased movement speed by a little bit. See, if you want to buff the Nether, buff its force field, because that thing is very weak now. And here we are on to Titans now. The Mauler increased durability by 10%, increased movement speed by 2, but reduced defense points off by 50, so that's like a fifth of it gone. Reduce the duration of the hook effect, during which incoming damage is converting to DOT, damage over time, from 10 to 6 seconds. Ooh, that's like a 40% nerf, which is crazy. That's a lot. I mean, to be fair, that's what made the Mauler OP in the first place, though. And reduce resistance to dot damage, DOT, from 75% to 55%. Ooh, so the Mauler, basically what they just said is the Mauler is going to be terrible. It's not going to be, like, worthless. It's not nerfed to the ground, but it's not going to be remotely as good as it used to be. And the Berserk Lier is also getting nerfed here, with a reduced jump back cooldown from 7 to 4.5 seconds, which is actually a buff. It just means you can jump more. Okay, the built-in weapon damage to the bow is getting buffed by 50%, which, okay, what's happening? But it's getting 35% less durability and reduced damage bonus from the fatigue effect from ×2 to ×1.2. Oh my god, that's such a nerf. Basically what that means is the bow will not be able to multiply its power by a lot at all, which is exactly why they did 50% extra weapon damage on that to help come up to help make up for that. The Nonance is getting a buff. It's got reduced cooldown on its disposal ability, and it increases the durability repaired to self from 1 to 9%, which is a pretty big buff, and increases the amount of durability repaired to allies from 5 to 6% per second. Okay, so that's really good actually. That's a pretty solid buff. The Arthur is also getting a buff. It's got 15% more durability It's got 8% more physical shield durability, which is actually a lot considering how much that actually already has. And it's got 15 more defense points when it's fully upgraded. Alright, so I'm thinking the reason why they're doing all these little buffs for all the things that really you don't ever see, it's just like to make them more comparable to the meta that's coming up. Because like all the meta's getting nerfed now. It's finally time for that. Dux is useless, thank God. The Rook is getting a little bit of a buff. It's got increased damage from the power field when it like lands by 12%. And it's got increased durability of all physical shields except for the two on the backside, 6%. Alright, not bad. And it's got increased the amount of durability repaired for each destroyed shield from 40,000 to 45,000 when fully upgraded. Alright, that's not bad. Uh, it's a little bit of a buff. It makes the Rook a bit more useful. The Newton is getting a little bit of a buff. It's got a tiny bit more speed and 10% more built-in weapon damage. To be honest, the built-in weapon's not all that great. I mean, it does damage, but like the reload on that is pretty insane. The Aether's getting a 2-second ability duration buff and 7% more durability. That's not what they need to buff the Aether. They need to buff the force field on that. That's the reason why the Aether's so weak. The Sirius is getting a buff. Increase of damage of the remote assault turret. Yo! By 15%? Hold on, I might switch back to the Sirius because that already did a really good amount of damage. And the remote restore goes 5 repairs more per tick now by 1%. And the Sirius also is getting a 9% durability increase. Alright. Moving on to robot weapons. This is big. Alright, this is massive because some of these I've wanted nerfed for a long time. Alright, the Smite and Discipline. These are the basically the long range vortex weapons that came with the Dux. They have increased damage 10% and increased splash radius from 3 meters to 7 meters, which is insane actually. But the blast charge accumulation is going down from 44 to 35 per hit, and the reload is doubling from 4 to 8. So this is almost going to be, it's nerfed to the ground. 8-second cooldown for a weapon like that can miss very easily. Not good. The Screamer, Growler, and Howler are being nerfed by 50% of their DP damage per second because they have increased burst interval from 0.65 seconds to 1.3, so doubled. Also, that's insane. It makes me happy though. The Aramis, Porthos, and Athos have increased the amount of damage returned as repairs from 30 to 40%, but they reduce the damage by 30%. So these weapons won't do near as much damage, but they are going to heal a bit more from the damage that they actually do. And the big one I've been waiting for this entire time, Hurricane and Dune are getting nerfed to the ground, so you'll hopefully never see them again. These weapons suck. They shouldn't have existed in the first place, but I'm really happy about what I'm about to say. So, they have increased damage by 20%, which is a solid buff. But the range is pretty much getting split in half. It's going from 1100 meters to 600. So, you're not going to be able to just sit in camp in your spawn and snipe all day anymore. Thank God. The Snare, Skady, and Hell weapons have increased freeze accumulation by 5% and increased damage by 8%. These weapons are good, but this isn't the buff they need. They need a reload buff is really what they need. Claw Jaw Talent increased damage by 7%. They just need to shoot faster. That's really all they need. Because they take forever to get through one clip. Excuse me. The Scald, Scorcher, and Incinerator have increased damage from Explosion plus 6%. That's not really a buff. I mean, it's a buff, don't get it wrong, but it's not enough to matter. And the Cudgel, Mace, and Hammer are actually getting a pretty solid buff as well. they have reduced projectile dispersion. So what that means is they're not going to go out as much at longer ranges. So like it's going to be coned in more towards the enemy that you're shooting a bit more. 6% more to be exact. And they have increased blast accumulation by 5%. So that's just a little buff. It's quite nice actually. The Cephos, Libers, and Cestus are partly getting some of their nerf back by increasing their damage by 10%. And the Spear is pretty much being unnerved from what it originally was. So it's going from its nerf version from 1 times to 1.3 to 1.9 for the multiplier to 1 times then 1.6 then 2.2. So it's quite the buff there, and it's quite nice actually. The Fainter has reduced shot interval from 0.15 to 0.13 and 12% more damage. The Fainter did pretty good damage, to be honest. It just needs better reload. That's all it needed there. And then moving on, we have Titan weapons now. These weapons are being nerfed to the ground. Thank God. Anguisher and Ruiner will no longer rule Champion League on Titans, and here's why. So they increase the damage over time from 400 to 600 per second, but they reduce the damage by 40%. That is mad. And they increase the particle dispersion by 25% horizontally and increase the particle dispersion by 33% vertically. So that's just, it's going to hit a lot less unless you're at like point blank range. And reduced dot duration, this one's big, from 10 to 4 seconds. That's over halfway nerfed. Alright, moving on. The Vindicator has increased damage, but the reload time is being over doubled from 6 to 15 seconds. Oh my god. So these weapons are going to do a ton of damage, but they can only... You gotta be careful with your shots, because you got a 15-second reload, and that's not good. The Inferno and Pyro increase time before the weapon starts cooling off from 5 to 7 seconds. Oh, that's big. That's big nerf. And 10% less damage. Oh. Alright, so those weapons are, like, useless now. So now it takes 7 seconds of you not firing just for the weapon to start cooling off. Alright, that's bad. The Titan Bendy Bullet weapons are being nerfed so that they don't have infinite ammo anymore. They increase reload interval. It's going from every 1 second to every 2 seconds. So you won't have infinite ammo with those anymore. The Bulva and Kiston are getting increased splash radius from 7.5 to 10 meters. Not bad, not bad. Increased damage by 10%. Again, not bad. Those weapons, I mean, they're maybe good on an Eiffel, but Eiffel's kind of trash now anyway. And we have, moving on to drones right after this, we have Grommet Skull getting buffed. The reload time is being shortened by 3 seconds total. The Squall... Okay, no, for the Grom, it's going from 16 to 13 seconds. For the Squall, it's going from 24 to 21. And they have 12% more damage. This isn't going to be good enough to bring them back to Champion League, but it's still kind of nice. Moving on to drones, this is going to be a big one here, because a lot of the good drones have been nerfed. Pascal is getting nerfed. It increases the greater durability repaired on threshold fix percentage from 7 to 8, so just barely. The on-kill assist bonus damage is now going to be replaced with a new mechanic that pretty much only works when you play it on the Curie. So, like, it's limiting down from any robot to just the Curie, which is, I mean, it's useless now. Pascal will now provide a 10% bonus to damage as long as the robot has heavy armor plates, also known as the Curie. We see right there. And they reduce the amount of defense points from on-threshold resist from 100 to 50. Okay, so that drone sucks now. It's useless. Seeker is getting nerfed from 350 meters to 250. So the nerf duxes can't use Seeker as effectively anymore. And they're also fixing a bug that allowed counterblind to activate every 5 seconds instead of 20 as stated in the ability description. I didn't even know about that bug, but yeah. Now this one's gonna hurt me a little bit because I have a maxed out shade drone, but it's still gonna be decent. They increase the amount of defense points provided by on damage done defense, plus 2 per 150,000 damage, and they increase the bonus to movement speed from on low durability speed from 7 to 9, so it's a little buff. The problem, the big nerf, is Lassen will now activate at 80% instead of 35. This is a big nerf because if you're not careful, you're just gonna get that wasted. So like, it's gonna be really good on like a scorpion or, you know, it's just not good. 80% too much, I think. If you're gonna put it very high, just put it at like 60%, maybe 65% tops, but not 80%. The eye looks like it's getting a buff. Reduced cooldown from 20 to 17 seconds on drone shooting death mark, okay. And it's got 10% more damage, so it's actually a buff, yeah. And the healing drone is getting buffed but from 800 to 900 healing per second. I mean, that drone still sucks, but I mean, it's alright, I guess. The nebula is getting buffed. It's increasing the duration of the absorber on high damage from 1 to 2 seconds. And it's increasing the amount of durability repaired by 7%. And here we are with motherships, which is going to hurt me a little bit because I just maxed out my Avalon pretty much. It's almost maxed out, but it's going to get nerfed. It needed to be nerfed. Yeah. So what happened? What happened is they're gonna increase the normal durability that can normally be healed to 15% instead of 10%. But they reduce the amount of gray durability restored from 15 to 7%, which is big. I mean, it's still good because you can heal gray durability. So that's, and it's still a solid amount. So it's not going to be useless, but it's going to be much less useful. And they reduce the amount of cleanse stacks applied from 15 to 5. So basically what that does is it's basically a bunch of anti-control stopping you from getting effects. So yeah, I'm still going to use it, but it won't be as good. The Beholder is getting 20% more damage, which to be honest, I didn't think it needed that. And the only pilot that's getting changed is the Ducks pilot, going from the stealth ability that it gives will now only last 5 seconds instead of 10 before. This is the last of the nerfs right here. It's quite a bit of a longer video than I thought it would be. There was a lot of changes here. But that is going to be big for nerfing the Ducks even more. Although I will say my links did kind of counter this pilot anyway, so it didn't really matter. But that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the okay, I blanked out there. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe for gameplay videos and more, more videos like this. Road to 1,000 subscribers. I'm at 600. Thank you all that have subscribed so far. If you haven't, please hit the button right there. And bye.